Hello there. It's Solo Tuesday time, and it's going to be interesting doing this. Made a fun little background here. If you're part of the Pod Squad, hashtag Pod Squad, you may not be able to see this. If you're part of the live squad, please let me know if my mic's working okay, because if something's wrong, usually I'll have AJ just to holler at me and say, yeah, bro, I can't hear you. So, guys, if at any point during this whole little session y'all can't hear me, let me know, like, quickly, please. But how is everyone doing? If you're in the UK, how y'all enjoying this heat? Woo, it's hot here at the moment. It's a weird one this week, guys. It is indeed. Mike seems fine. Thank you, Francis Lalonde. Great to have you here. I see a few other people who are watching us live. Please do comment, say hello. Let me know you're here. I'll be sure to include your comment and say hi back if you're new. Right. What's happened? If you haven't been following me on Twitter, which is at Movie Mount Rushmore, you will know that normally this is a two-man show. Sadly, Mr. AJ this week will not be present, simply because he's got the dreaded COVID-19, that little thing, that killed a load of people. It's sadly AJ has been afflicted with it. Riri Thomas is here. Hi, happy to be back. Love that you're ranking Pixar movies, but my God, it's so difficult for me. Riri, it is great to have you back. I have missed you here on the channel. Thank you so much for joining again. It is very hard ranking Pixar movies. It is oh so hard. What I found really interesting when I put the comment out on our Twitter page, again, at Movie Mount Rushmore, if you're new to the channel or new to the podcast, when I put the question out, like, what was it, 3-4 hours ago? I didn't see anyone who had the same sort of ranking that I did. So more I've been looking at the Twitter questions, more and more I'm kind of worrying that, oh shit, have I got a contentious list here? Gavin Mann is in the house. Good evening and happy belated Father's Day to you, Nico. Get well soon too, Mr. Jordan. Hashtag I'm with AJ. Yeah, actually, I won't show her face, but I got a lovely Daddy Father's Day card right here, which with a few photos from my first year as a parent. Well, first 8 months as a parent. And I also got this is, I'm quite happy with this. My first Father's Day gift. Look, it's a bat mug. How great is that? So that's my first Father's Day gift, a really, really ugly Batarang bat mug. But yes, and it's kind of, if you look closely, it's got, again, sorry if you're on the pod squad, but you'll have to join the live video. It's got kind of all of Batman's like famous comic strips in this matte black. It's very cool. Yeah, that's my Father's Day spiel done. Francis Lalonde says, I don't really know lots of the sequels, so we'll mostly try to input on the upper tier origin stories. It's very funny you say that, Francis, because that's going to be a running kind of repetitive commentary, with one or two exceptions, of course. But for most part, Pixar... Okay, so context. I personally believe, if you're regular listeners to the podcast, you'll know this. I personally believe that Pixar are single-handedly the greatest movie studio on the planet. No studio has put out so much quality again and again and again and again and again. So, repetitively, so effectively on such a frequent basis. It's not all been peaches and cream, but even when their movies are quote-unquote bad, it's bad by Pixar standards. By average movie standards, most of these movies are freaking great. But what you're saying, Francis, is true. I don't really know lots of the sequels, so we'll mostly try to put, as you rightfully say, on the upper tier origin stories. Because the Pixar sequels are, how can we say this diplomatically? Not as good. They're okay. In some parts, there's one or two instances where they're good or great, but yeah, I definitely hear what you're saying about the origin stories being the upper tier. I would agree with that. Frank Torres is in the house. Hello, Frank. Hey, Nico. Hope you're well. Happy belated Father's Day. Thank you, sir. Get well, AJ. What was your take on Lightyear not being the blockbuster we all expected? Our family's just waiting for streaming now. I'm going to touch on this now because here's an interesting thing. I think the new CEO of it, well, he's been at it for 2 years now, Bob Chapek. And this is a tangent, but in relation to your question, Frank. Bob Chapek, since big Papa Bob Iger stepped down. Bob Iger, who of course gave creative control to Kevin Feige to run the MCU, who of course gave creative control to Pixar to do their own marketing. I mean, Bob Chapek, who, in his defense, he's come in a very difficult time. You know, he had to manage a production release during a pandemic. I mean, there's no manual for that. So in some ways, I feel for him, but the guy has made so many goddamn mistakes. It's actually quite shameful. He was the one who so poorly handled the whole Scarlett Johansson fiasco a year ago. Y'all forgot about that. That was all Bob Chapek. He's the one who's put the prices up at the Disney parks. He's the one who recently, 3-4 months ago, took creative control of the marketing away from Marvel Studios. At the Doctor Strange 2 premiere, Kevin Feige literally on the red carpet openly said, I am pissed off with how much of this stuff was shown in trailers. Where there's smoke, there's fire, people. Now, in relation to your question, Frank, having said all that about Bob Chapek, he's also the guy who made the decision that movies like Luca and Turning Red, movies that I personally, and of course opinions are like an asshole, but the movies that I personally think should have been wide releases went to streaming service. So your question, are families just waiting for streaming now? Yeah, it's possible, because Disney have now created in a short time, they've created like this culture where you don't need to go to the movies anymore. You can just wait for streaming. I mean, shit, literally. I mean, I got my, you may see I'm in a new background today. I have been removed from my studio and moved into another room so that my studio can be given to the small baby. But, you know, literally, we were just watching some Disney Plus, me and the wife, a few moments ago. And guys, what's the date? It's, what date is it today? It's the 21st of June. Tomorrow, I don't know what it's like in the US. Tomorrow on Disney Plus, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is coming out. And some people are like, yay, cool, we didn't see it at the cinema. Now we didn't have to wait so long. That's part of the problem. When you start creating a culture where you're telling people you don't need to go to the cinema anymore, wait a month. I mean, shit, Doctor Strange 2 came out literally a month ago. It's a month. And it's already on streaming service. Tomorrow. At time of recording, that may change, but believe me, that wasn't Kevin Feige's choice. Now, Disney are being stupid here because that movie is still out in theaters. They could still make money from that. Why would you not make money from it when you can give it to streaming service? Why would people go and see it at the cinema when they can stay at home and watch it on streaming service? Now, I know all the consumers amongst you are going to be like, you're being short-sighted. It's so great for us consumers. Yes. In the short term, it's great for us as consumers because, we don't need to pay those $20 or here £20, sometime more than £20 cinema tickets. Yeah, I'll just wait a month. Fuck it. I'll stay off the internet and avoid spoilers for a month. I'll clear my cookie cache so I don't have any notifications on Doctor Strange 2 or something. And I'll see it within a month. It's great. And I'm blocking the porn. Here's where it becomes a problem for us as movie fans, guys. You cannot make tentpole AAA blockbuster movies with the income you make from streaming. These are hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, of course, these big studios have that money, but the reason they have that money is because they make that money by releasing these movies in theaters. This notion that, Warner Brothers did this last year. They fucked up. Now you see with all the Warner Brothers movies, it's like, no, it's coming out exclusively at the cinemas. Disney are making the same mistakes. With good old Bob Chapek at the head, they are making the same mistakes, not letting movies like Luca and Turning Red come out in cinemas. They lost Pixar money there. Pixar were pissed about that. They're doing the same thing now with Doctor Strange 2. You start costing your studios money. You heard it here first. I will put this, timestamp this shit on record. If you keep doing this shit, like pissing your creatives like Kevin Feige off, they will walk. Christopher Nolan walked from Warner Brothers. Denis Villeneuve walked from Warner Brothers. Now what do Warner Brothers have? A load of execs in charge. And I know the millennials out there might be like, oh, yeah, sure. It's the corporations who should be running this. No. When it comes to a creative art form, the creatives should have creative control. And when it comes to marketing, the people like Kevin Feige, the producers overseeing, the 10 plus, and we're coming up, it's going to be 20 years at some point, a 20-year storyline creative process. There are things you don't want to put in the trailers so that the audiences have the surprise moments. It's all going a little bit wrong at Disney, and you heard it here first. If they keep doing this, they are going to lose people like Kevin Feige, and they are going to lose their creatives that they have at Pixar, because no one wants to have their work, which they've put 3 to 5 years working, and being told it's not getting a cinema release, it's going to go to streaming service. No one wants that. Absolutely no one wants that. So our families, to come back to your question, Frank, are families just waiting for streaming now? Yeah, I think so. And it's going to hurt the movies. And when these movies don't make money, those types of movies won't be made anymore. They'll be made on a lower budget, and they'll be direct to streaming. So by actually supporting streaming, although I have all of the streaming platforms, I will still go out to the cinema and support cinema. But by not supporting cinema, you are basically, whether you like to realize this or not, you are sending a message to the studio saying, you don't need to give us $100 million productions anymore. And if you don't like $100 million productions, great. Then this whole rant hasn't been for you. So I apologize for that. Francis Lalonde says, Nico, got to ask, saw an article about Lightyear mentioning meat, bread, meat versus bread, meat, bread. Spoiler? No. I like what you've done there, but it's not a spoiler. Absolutely not. Gavin Mann says, thanks again for the Snowpiercer recommendation, Nico. Caught Moon last night as well. Oh, Moon good, right? Let me know what you thought about that, Gavin. Riri Thomas says, get well, AJ. Of course, the two of you are always class. Also, do you still want a Rushmore, or just a list of a personal favorite? Good question, Riri. I think I'm going to see how this particular show goes. And we'll play it by ear. Like, if halfway through the show I can get the vibe that people want to give Rushmores, then we'll go for Rushmores, and I'll do a poll anyway. But do you know what? Fuck it. We're going to do a Rushmore. So yeah, stay tuned till the end so I can get all your Rushmores. Gavin Mann says, the last couple of Pixar films have bombed at the box office, according to Wiki, of course. It's a mix between quality and watching on Disney+. There's no doubt about that. There is absolutely no doubt about that. But The Incredibles 2 did very well. Coco did very well. Inside Out did very well. When the quality is there, they make money. Word of mouth is a powerful thing, and word of mouth has never been as prevalent as in the glorious age of social media. I personally think Turning Red would have made money. Just my opinion. RJ Skarenki is back. Great to have you back, RJ. Thank you for joining us again. In the previews, Lightyear looked good, but Buzz looked like a mannequin. So, yes, there's an element of that to it. And Frank Torres confirms Doctor Strange comes out here tomorrow too. Madness. RJ Skarenki says, yeah, man. Also, with this 45-day window, it's easy to wait now for streaming. There you go. So why would any logical thinking person, I mean, as I said, I do it because, I mean, I'm not saying you guys are stupid, but I think what I see is the bigger picture, which is fuck the 45-day thing, fuck the streaming services. I'll, of course, pay for them and watch them and consume their content. First and foremost, I want to see these movies as they were intended, which is on a big screen in a big reclining chair, if you have that. If not, the big reclining chair is not a deal breaker, but big screen, big audio, popcorn as it's meant to be done. That's the cinema experience. Long, long, long may it rain. And now Jay Skarenki goes on to say, by the way, tomorrow is my birthday and Doctor Strange will be one of my birthday presents. Happy birthday to you, RJ Skarenki. And you will be how old? I'd like to know. And Gavin Mann says, admittedly, if something comes out directly from, say, Netflix and then on cinema, I'll catch it on Netflix. The likes of Disney, I will watch in cinema if I can. My man, good for you. Tucky is here too. And Tucky says, each to their own, I guess. I still go to the cinema, but understandable for people if they choose to stream. Convenience will always be a factor. Same way video stores lost out to streaming. 100% agree. 100% agree. And so now coming back to my point, studios, especially like Disney, who have their big blockbuster releases and their own exclusive streaming platform, of course. Studios like Disney have the power to create their own unique viewing culture. The viewing culture they're creating at the moment is Pixar streaming, and now recently, for a big Marvel movie, just wait a month, it'll be on streaming. That's a very short-sighted business plan. Yes, it'll make the shareholders very happy because Disney Plus will be making money, but it will affect the quality of the movies in the long run. Mark my word. Now, what you can do is that you create the convenience for the consumer whereby you give 3 months to wait, not 1 month like they're doing with Doctor Strange. I mean, this is just stupid. RJ Skarenki says, this is how the Batman survived in theaters. No HBO Max, no streaming for 45 days. 750 million, baby. My man, you got it. That is literally it. Word 789 is back. Great to have you back. Everybody knows #1 Pixar movie, Wreck-It Ralph. My man. Gavin Mann goes on to say, going to the cinema twice this week. Is Elvis out this week? Oh, Gavin, thank you, sir. I know what I'm doing Friday. And Francis Lon says, should be a very tight top 4 Rushmore poll. I hope so. And then Tucky goes on to say, when was the last truly great Pixar movie? Let's pull up Pixar's website here. When we say, I mean, truly great is obviously a matter of opinion, as always. But I'm obviously going to give in my humble opinion. Pixar.com, feature films launch. So for me, it's a strange question just because you've got to factor in the pandemic where they didn't have a lot of releases for 2 years. So the last truly great Pixar movie, I would say, is Coco, and that came out in 2018. But I imagine they would have released other movies earlier than that were it not for the pandemic. So although 2018, now that we're in 2022, seems like an age ago, you got to factor in those 2 years of no releases. So in the interest of fairness, 2 years, if you neglect the pandemic. Gavin Mann says, thought the first 30 minutes of Moon was slow, but I think I'll appreciate that more on second viewing. Overall, really liked it. Great concept. Fantastic. And AJ's in the house. Hey, guys. Don't know how, but the global one got me again. Just seen a few messages. Thank you so much, guys, and see you next week. AJ, I miss you, brother. Get better soon. Taki goes on to say, suspect Doctor Strange on Disney Plus is a response to Paramount Plus going live tomorrow. For sure. For sure, this is tactical and planned. It's like, let's get people on Disney watching Doctor Strange. For sure it is. Gavin Mann says, I pick Netflix because some of their content can be rotten. Yes, some of their content indeed is rotten. Most of their movie content, I would argue, is rotten. Their documentaries, fantastic. Their series, for most part, fantastic. Their movies, not so good. Francis Lalonde says, I'm still fanatical about actually possessing physical copies of films. Me too. So unless I'm stoked about a film, I'll avoid the theater and wait for the DVD Blu-ray. See, I'm slightly different, Francis. What I'll do is I'll go see it in the cinema, and then if I loved it, then I'll get it on DVD and Blu-ray. So I kind of do that double whammy. And then we've got Gavin Mann saying Soul was the last great film. I see. You see. I mentioned that my choice of Pixar movies may be a tad contentious. So, and here we go. I don't agree on Soul being a great film, but that's why we're here. We're here to talk Pixar. And Word 789 says, little bit off topic, sorry, but should I go and watch Jurassic Park Dominion? Word 789. When you're done with watching the podcast today, jump on to the channel. I've done a review for Jurassic World Dominion. If you value my opinion, the review will tell you everything. So have a look at that. Taki then goes on to say, to be fair, I'd probably go Luca. Loved it straight away. There you go. See, you would have given your money for Luca, and they lost your money by putting it on streaming. RJ Skarenki says, Coco was such a heartwarming movie. Best Pixar movie of 2020. Yep. And then there's a lot of love going to AJ's way. Cool, guys. Well, 19 minutes, and I'm shocked that I managed to hold that alone without actually talking about movies for 19 minutes. But let's get into this shiz. As always, guys, this particular episode, as I'm going to be running it alone, I actually managed to get the time to bring up a few video clips and whatnot, soundless, so I'm not going to get copyright struck, which is awesome. So you're going to see a bit of video content to support it just being me throughout the video, because I don't want you guys to get bored. So Pod Squad, This might be one where if you are listening on podcast, which again, AJ's not here, I'm going to have to do this all by myself. If you are listening into our podcast, if you're not, you can find it on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Castbox, Deezer, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Podchaser, TuneIn, Stitcher, and Geo7. All podcast platforms. All you have to do is search Movie Mount Rushmore. But if you are Pod Squad, I would suggest, especially for this episode, maybe come in and watch the video on demand on our YouTube channel, just because there's going to be some nice video displays. And if you've enjoyed watching the video live and you want to catch it again on podcast, you've just seen where you can get it. And as always, guys, if you do happen to like the ramblings of two best friends of 20 plus years, talking movies every single week, and you like our content, you can head on over to buymeacoffee.com/movie dudes. And for literally less than the price of your daily Starbucks, you can support the channel and the hard work that AJ and I do on here to bring you guys a bit of happiness and joy and a bit of a film community feel every single week. A few more comments have come through, and then I will crack on with breaking down this list. Lots of porn. Let's block the porn. Blocking the porn. Blocking the porn. So lots of love to AJ. Now, RJ Skarenki says, and also Top Gun Maverick survived Biolin theaters, 800 million going on 900 million. And you know what? It's going to get more of my money. I saw that opening weekend, and I will be going again with my uncle to see that this coming Thursday. Gavin Mann says, Toy Story 3, Up, and Coco were the biggest tearjerkers of Pixar that I have seen. I would listen to that, yes. And Gavin Mann confirms Nico Elvis is out this Friday. Well, I know what I'm doing this weekend. Thank you, guys. Okie dokie. So let's actually talk some movies then. Let's start off all the way at the bottom. Now, again, I would like to preface. I'd like to be very careful here in saying there is probably genuinely only one Pixar movie that I would go as far as to say that I hate. And it's not a bad movie. Some people would say it's actually very good. I hate it for what it did to a beloved story. It will make more sense when we get to it. Because funnily enough, despite the fact that I hate it, objectively, I recognize that it's not the worst Pixar movie. So I tried this off before. Let's see if this works. Guys, bear with me, but we should have... Please work, for the love of God. Is it on the desktop? Please work. Yes. Okay, let's go. Haha, look at that. In at number 26 is Cars 2. Guys, look, the Cars movies have never been the most loved of the Pixar movies. Now, while Cars 2 had some neat ideas, notably casting Michael Caine as an Aston Martin who plays a spy, cool idea. I think this movie missed the trick by taking the attention and putting it on Mater. Although the movie, as you can see in some of the screenshots here, actually did have some quite surprising and gruesome deaths. Making Mater the star of this movie just did not work for me at all. Cars does move at a breakneck pace, and the movie is better for that because the speed is such that you don't actually have time to stop and focus on the numerous plot problems. But as Word 789 just said, bruh, planes. Like, the point of the Cars trilogy has always been that racer vibe. You know, we'll talk about Cars 1 and Cars 3 later on. But for an idea that already wasn't that great, yes, it was John Lasseter's kind of love letter. The whole thing was John Lasseter's love letter to, you know, the great American road trip along Route 66, if you can call that the great American road trip, I guess. This movie is not good. It's definitely targeted at the kids, and it's definitely one of those money makers. But yeah, Cars 2, I'd say, is my number 26, and I think quite easily the worst Pixar movie. Gavin Mann says, never watched Cars 2 as I wasn't blown away by the first. It wasn't bad, though. That's the point. Cars 1 wasn't bad. This, I would say, is. Frank Torres says, nobody likes the Cars series. How it got a trilogy, we'll never know. Preach, my brother. And RJ Skarenki says, I'll watch any of the Fast and Furious movies over Cars any day. Yep, I hear that. And Word 789 says, it's Cars. Kids like Cars. It's true. It's true. It's true. It's true. Let us move on then with my number 25. And in at number 25, this one is the one I think that is going to surprise people. So, to quote Samuel L. Jackson from Jurassic Park, hold on to your butts. I've done it. In at number 25, I am putting Toy Story 4. And this, my friends, is the one I'm saying that I actually categorically hate. The movie made Woody Bo Peep's bitch. It undid all of the good that the trilogy, which up until this movie, I would say was in an argument for being one of, if not the greatest trilogy ever, Toy Story 1, 2, and 3. This movie dealt with a toy having an existential crisis. It's like, I'm sorry, have we not trodden this route already before? And it's like, oh, well, we need to fill in the Bo Peep story. It's like, no. You really do not in any way, shape, or form need to fill in the little Bo Peep story, because we had that, and it's called great filmmaking. That one throwaway line in Toy Story 3 when they just turned to Woody and said, remember what happened to Bo? Yeah, I remember. That little line, you learn everything you need to know about the heartbreak that Woody has gone through. You did not need a whole movie to elaborate on a throwaway storyline which clearly highlighted the cowboy's distress, and by doing so, by proxy, eliminating all of the good grace that the original trilogy did, in my humble opinion. Forky is a fucktard character, or Sporky, Spoonie. What the fuck was he called? The moron spork thing. It's a toy with an existential crisis. They are literally retreading Toy Story 1, just not good. Why? Why do this? You had a perfect trilogy and you went and spoiled it. It's a no. It's a bad Pixar. Bad. Yeah. And then Tucky has now added, Pixar definitely lack imagination with their sequel names. Don't they just? Gavin Mann says, going on last week's episode, will Pixar make the Dino crossover of re-executive decision? Word 789 says, agreed, Toy Story 4 is absolute garbage. Also called it. Fair play, bro. I was holding out for it to be good. Francis Long says, I remember you mentioned Toy Story 4 last week. Yes, it's just not good. Ain't nobody care about Bo Peep, says Word 789. Gavin Mann, though, says Toy Story 4 was a good film. It just should have been called something else, like a spin-off. Gavin, it's not often I disagree with you, bro. I don't think it was a good film because of the story that they executed and the lack of stakes and the lack of danger throughout the movie compared to the other three. I was just like, what are we doing? What are we doing? When you consider the ending of Toy Story 3 and then you consider this, for me, it's not good. Tucky says, look great, but the most forgettable story of the 4 movies. Now they have to make a 5th because that ending wasn't satisfying. At all. And my worry is if they do make a 5th, it's then going to carry on and on and on. And the further along we go, the more we undo the good graces that we created with that original trilogy. Word 79 says, yeah, but Toy Story 4 ruined the franchise. No, I don't think it did ruin the franchise because those 3 movies are still phenomenal. You just have to be in a world where you put your headspace where like, okay, we don't care about Toy Story 4. We don't watch Toy Story 4. It's like No Time to Die could have ruined James Bond. It's like, no, fuck you, Daniel Craig, and fuck you, No Time to Die. I still love James Bond. You don't exist to me. That is the way I like to look at it, at least. RJ Skorenki says he was called Forky, and what an annoying character he was. Right. And Word 789 says, I remember when they said Toy Story 3 was meant to be the last one. It was. The ending was perfect. It should have been the last one. I don't give a fork, says Word 789. Very good. And Tucky then goes on to say, I suspect they will go full circle. Andy will have a child who will then own the toys. Oh, geez, I hope not. Please don't do that. Anyway, that's my number 25. Guys, oh, sorry, that is the wrong button here. Let's go over to number 24. And in at number 24, we have, this may be contentious, Soul. I'm going with Soul at number 24. Now, what you can see in the video here, again, Pod Squad, apologies if you're not seeing this, but what you can see, what is going on here? Sorry, I've got the wrong clips in there. So what you can see in Soul here is essentially a utilitarian version of the afterlife. Now, inherently, what pissed me off about that is like, a Pixar afterlife movie. I'm pretty sure that we've seen that already. Coco. Now, while the first part of this movie I absolutely adored, what you're seeing on screen here, which is, you know, the pianist who's having an untimely death and who wants to somehow reconnect with the outside world. This is where the scenes are very misleading, because what we saw in the trailer, all of this, you know, utilitarian afterlife stuff, it's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. But that's not the movie, is it? What the movie is, what you saw on the clips there, which admittedly looks great. Why does he, what was with the cat? Why? Why did we ruin such a good idea and then go cat? Like cat. So you've got this great story about an untimely death and a soul that doesn't want to come into life with the, what was it, Tina Fey playing the little baby soul? And you're going to put all that great idea, which has got the visuals and prettiness that entertains children and the depth of storyline to entertain adults, something Pixar famously do, which is what makes them great. And you're going to say, now forget all that. Cat. People like cats. Cats are cool. Cats get clicks on YouTube. It's like, yeah, I mean, sure, cats are great. I prefer dogs, but cats are great. Why would you ruin a great story? Granted, kind of a rehashed story, but why would you ruin a great story for the sake of making it kid friendly? You were already kid friendly with the visuals. You didn't need to go further than that. It completely missed the point for me. Completely missed the point. Riri Thomas says, interested to see what you would say is the most underrated. I think it's A Bug's Life personally. I love that. Bug's Life is great, Riri. We'll get to what I think the most underrated is. Gavin, man, angry. 24. Where's the unsubscribe button? No, stay. Gavin, please. The force is strong with you. Stay with me. Only kidding. Word 789 says, yo, I haven't watched this movie, but the trailers made me want to watch it. Word 789, me too, brother. Me too, brother. And that is exactly why I went to see it. That is exactly why I didn't like it. And then I rewatched it again on streaming, and it did not work for me. The first third of the movie, inventive, original, fantastic. And then let's go into a cat. Why? Stupid. Taki says, I thought the choice of the cat was just too silly. Clash with the deeper stuff in the movie. You get what I'm saying, Taki. This is what I'm saying. Thank you for that. That was my number 24. And in number 23, we have got, again, slightly contentious. My apologies. But in at number 23, we've got Brave. I did not care for this movie. It suffers from exactly the same mistakes that Soul suffers from. Now, what was nice to see is that it was the first time we actually had a female-led Pixar movie, not a female-featured, but a female-led Pixar movie, which I liked. And much like with Soul, the first part of this movie I adored. Gave me a bit of a female Aladdin vibe. Maybe missing the point, but that's just the vibe I got. Love the animation in this, from the in-depth 3D to the beautiful, beautiful red hair. But the moment, okay, so just like with Soul, the moment we get to Cat, I raise an eyebrow. Like with Brave, the moment we get to Mother Bear, I'm raising an eyebrow. It's like, whoa, hang on. You've got a really, really good feminine empowering story here about a girl who's trying to break social convention, about a girl who's trying to stand on her own 2 feet, and about a girl who's, like all young women and all young people, in fact, defying her parents to find her own voice a little bit. And we put that to the side for the sake of kiddie-friendly bear. And I know people are going to be like, yeah, but these are kid movies. No, they're not. Pixar movies are not kids movies. Just because they're animated does not make them kids movies. In my humble opinion, these movies are there as a vessel for both adult and children. They are vessels for the whole family. The animation, obviously, colors and shapes and all that. Yes, kids are going to love that. But the stories, you'll see as we get up the list, the stories are adult themed. And what fundamentally annoys me with Soul and with Brave, we start well We do what Pixar's famous for: colorful colors, nice shapes, adult themes. And then we go, fuck it, just kiddie stuff, kiddie stuff, kiddie stuff. Mother turns into a bear. Also, can we talk about the fact that she tries to poison her mother? Like, something a bit, I'm all for adult themes and stuff, but in a movie which is talking about a young woman finding her voice, the answer to that is poison your mama? That doesn't work at all. What have we got here in the comments? Gavin Mann says, Pete Docter seemed to be the key behind a good Pixar film, normally does the writing. I did not know that. Word789 says, never watch Brave, never will. Watch the first 30 minutes. I mean, my wife, who's just entered the room, I think is a big fan of Brave, yes? You like Brave, yes? Yes, she liked Brave. I didn't. You see, it resonates differently with different people. Gavin Mann says, haven't seen it yet. I know, right? Word789 says, Monsters University better be nice. You see, the pressure's coming already. Billy Mount says they're family films. By the way, Billy Mount, welcome back to the show. Thank you for joining us. And you are spot on. They are family films. And Word789 says, hated that movie. It's not very good, is it? And then we've got Tucky saying Brave and Braveheart appear next to each other on all movies on Disney Plus. Great doubleheader for the family. Yeah, explain that one to your kids. Right, what have we got next? That was what, 24, 23? That was 23. So let's go with number 22. I'm afraid, Word789, you're going to be disappointed. Monsters University isn't next. Up next, number 22, I'm putting the original Cars, the one that started the franchise, which people were questioning, why does this need to be a franchise? Of all of Pixar's original movies, definitely the most kiddie friendly. I mean, Route 66, here you go. So I mentioned this earlier. This is very much John Lasseter's love letter to the Great American Road Trip. So obviously got Paul Newman in his last ever role, so it's always very, bittersweet and sad to hear the great Paul Newman's last words on screen. But what Cars did right is that it embraced that kind of NASCAR Americana race vroom vroom vibe, right? I liked Lightning McQueen as a character. As you can see in the banner down below, he's one of the characters I picked. He is an icon of Pixar at this point. There's no doubt about that. The story of this one, very simple and self-contained. Arrogant race car needs to rediscover himself and go back to basics in order to keep winning. Like, the story is not complex, but the story is also, unlike Brave and Soul, which got stupid and, intellectually offensive. I mean, the story of Cars is harmless. It's inoffensive at its core. It's a simple, very on the nose, but it's a very simple story. And Word789 says it perfectly here. Cars was meh. It's not good. It's not bad. This is what I mean. It's just kind of there. It's just there. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not great. And then, so I don't really have much more to add to Cars. As I said, it's a movie which doesn't have much substance. But yeah, let's move on with that one. So that was, let's get the next video file ready. So that was number 22. In at number 21, I'm not going far here. In at number 21, Cars 3. People say this is the worst Pixar movie. I, for the life of me, can't understand that. For me, this is not only not the worst Pixar movie, of the 3 Cars movies, this is by far the best one. Now, someone brought up a comment here. I think it was Tucky. It's basically Rocky 3. This movie is basically Rocky Balboa, Cars 3. It's, the old veteran Lightning McQueen in a very adult theme is now coming up against, unlike in the old ones where he was against people who are his level, he's now coming up against these young guns who smoke him. This is essentially the old boxer coming up against the young warrior whom he cannot Guys, can you hear me? I am back in action. I'm really, really sorry about that. Can everyone please just let me know that they can hear me okay? I do apologize for that. Absolutely no idea what happened there. Technical difficulties. Mic went out, video froze, roger that. Frozen, ironically, not a Pixar film. Who wants to play I Spy while we wait? Guys, can everyone hear me? Is everyone back in the chat? Is everyone okay? Everyone able to hear me? Please sound off so I know that you're there. Otherwise, I'm just going to press on with this. Where were we? He's back. Good. Loud and clear. Thank you, Gavin. Thank you, Francis. Appreciate you guys. Where were we? We were talking Cars 3. Yeah, this is essentially Rocky Balboa, isn't it? The young cunt, the old vet who's now, he's done his winning, and now the young gun comes along, the new upgraded model. And it's Cars 1, just done better, with the whole Lightning McQueen having to rediscover himself and reinvent himself. This movie is Creed with cars. I really liked it. Now, let us go. So we've done like the bottom 6 now. I guess we are officially, I guess, past the worst, and we are in the top 20 now. So again, this may be contentious because I've seen some love for it already. But in at number 20, Luca. Now, Luca was cute. Now, let's face it. Who doesn't like spending time on the Italian Riviera? I love that kind of 50s, Cinque Terre aesthetic. I loved, the nods to the stereotypical side of Italy. I loved it. It's kind of like the Little Mermaid meets Splash, though, isn't it? It's literally fish out of water story. The reason The reason I'm specifying that this one isn't higher is it doesn't have much stakes to it. Like, ultimately, the story is these two kids come out the water and they're going to, they train to win a Vespa. It's like, okay. So even with the worst movies, so far we have dealt with utilitarian afterlife, untimely death. We have dealt with young women finding their own voice and not being influenced by a patriarchal society. We have dealt with, Rocky Balboa-esque themes of, old veterans having to fight the youth. And then we come to Luca and it's like, I need to win a Vespa. Do you see my problem here? Do you see why this isn't higher for me? Like, there's nothing inherently wrong with it. It's just like there's nothing new to it. It's the Little Mermaid. It's Splash. It's a fish out of water. It's all of those things. I mean, shit. Even with the Little Mermaid, it's like, she's literally putting a lot at stake here. Yes, Ariel is one of the world's almighty morons as characters go, but there are stakes in The Little Mermaid. The stakes are high. Blocking the pawn. The stakes are high. Here, the stakes are like Vespa. It's like, okay. I mean, it's fine, but that's it. Okay. What's everyone saying? Billy Mount says, Nico, I wanted to ask, where's AJ? Billy, you missed it at the top of the show. So AJ has unfortunately been convicted. That's completely not what I wanted to say. AJ is currently afflicted with COVID-19. So he's feeling a bit under the weather. Please send him your love. Please send him your support. Buy him a coffee. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But yeah, he should be back next week. So thoughts and prayers going out to my best friend, AJ. Word789 says, generic as fuck movie. Didn't care for it. I'm kind of with you. Gavin Mann says, I like Luca. It wasn't accompanied with some nice, it was accompanied with some nice short films too. Some nice shorts too. Word789 says, this felt like it has been done a million times. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it. That's my issue. And Taki says, I think the fact that it was full of deep themes was why I liked it. Deep themes? See? Deep? I see what you did there. Oh, wasn't. Sorry. So you weren't doing the yuck yuck. Okay, my bad. But yeah, go with the yuck yuck. Right, let's go with our next entry. So at number 19, what have we got here? And at number 19, the sequel that didn't need to be made. This smacks of unnecessary sequelitis. Finding Dory in at number 19 had some nice ideas. It pales in comparison to the original. Got some decent voice talent. Obviously, Ellen DeGeneres is back. Mel Brooks is back. Sorry, Albert Brooks, not Mel Brooks. Albert Brooks is back. I think Idris Elba did a voice in this, but it's just such a shallow imitation of its predecessor. It's quite scary. Now, here's an interesting thing I'd like to pitch to all of you guys. Finding Dory, despite the story not being the best, had potential. Let me pitch something to you here. You may have heard this if you're regular listeners before, but they could have made Finding Dory go from being meh, sort of mediocre, middle to bottom of the table territory, to actually being great with one scene. And we all know that Pixar can win you over with one scene. We're going to talk about that later. Minor spoiler here, not minor, major spoiler here if you haven't seen Finding Dory, so I apologize. The end, when Dory finds her parents, that was the moment you should have made us all tear up and get the feels. Because what would have been, how she arrives back where she thinks she is, and obviously she's got that memory loss problem, right? So she thinks she lives here. She sees the seashells, right, which are leading her home. And that's how she knows, okay, yeah, I found the right place. Oh, amazing. Memory problem gone. I've actually managed to find my way back against all odds. And then her parents are there. What would have been so much more powerful would have been same key point, which is, despite having that memory loss problem, she manages to find her way home, insurmountable personal odds, right? What would have been much more powerful here? Tell me what you guys think of this. She gets back. She thinks she's in the right place, sees the seashells, knows she's in the right place, follows them all the way home, but the parents aren't there. You could have had something like, I think the dad fish was wearing glasses for some reason. If not, ignore this next point. If he was, you could have just had the glasses in the sand to imply that they're dead, Or even if you didn't have the glasses, the fact that the house is empty implies that the parents are dead. And the message there is so much more powerful. It means that even when gone, they were still able to help her. They were still able to help her get over Dory's personal affliction. They were still able to give her that one final lesson. That's so much more powerful than just fish gets home and, yay, mom, dad, I made it. It's like, you were already okay as a movie, but you could have gone from okay to great if you'd done that scene properly. That's just my opinion, obviously. Standout in this movie, hands down, was the octopus. The octopus was all sorts of cool. Now, Gavin Mann says, no sign of Monsters University yet. Billy Mount says, the sequel no one was asking for especially one actress who is the hated actress now. Oh, yes. Tucky says, not actually seen it, but Dory was the most irritating part of Finding Nemo, so I didn't watch the sequel. Billy Mount says, Ellen DeGeneres is an awful person, never saw Finding Dory and didn't care for it. All of that is fair. Right. Into our next entry. I believe it's number 18 now. Riri, I apologize to you, because in at number 18 is A Bug's Life. Now, I really like this movie. As you can see, I've put some Kurosawa shots on here because A Bug's Life is essentially Pixar doing Seven Samurai. It is, the wandering traveler who goes and recruits other wandering travelers to come and protect his village. It is literally Seven Samurai in a nutshell. People may not agree with me on this. For me, I remember A Bug's Life being famous because it came out at the same time as Ants, And for me, it was the lesser movie. I know. What the hell, Burn the Witch? How could you say A Bug's Life is worse than Ants? I preferred Ants. It's just the way I roll, people. There's nothing wrong with A Bug's Life. I would listen to an argument to say that it's one of the most underappreciated. Definitely. I would listen to that argument all day because there's nothing wrong with this film. It's actually a very good film. It's just now we are getting into territory where Pixar movies are getting to be good, great. You know, it's getting hard now to adjust the ranking. But nothing wrong with A Bug's Life. The animation obviously has dated a little bit. Blatantly copy Seven Samurai, but that's not a bad thing considering how much of a good movie it's copying. But yeah, Bug's Life, my number 18. Riri Thomas says, fair play, Nico. I didn't say it was my fave, just underappreciated. I'm with you. I think it is underappreciated. Billy Mount says, A Bug's Life is a decent film, but it's no way as good as Ants. Okay, Billy Mount, my brother. You're with me, my friend. And yeah, same here. I prefer Ants. Frank Torres says, Nico, good call with Ants versus Bug's Life. Same summer as Deep Impact versus Armageddon. The summer of clashes, right? I'm going to say something. So Deep Impact and Armageddon, that's an interesting one. Deep Impact was definitely a snooze fest, while Armageddon was, popcorn Americana, land of the free and all that. So Armageddon had more, star-spangled thrills, but fuck me, it was stupid. It's so stupid. So I'd probably lean Deep Impact over Armageddon just on the fact that I don't feel like a moron after I've watched Deep Impact. Also, Volcano versus Dante's Peak, as Tucky and Frank Torres both say. Now you see both of those. While I think Dante's Peak is the better movie, I love Volcano. I love both of those movies. What a great summer, weird summer that was. What a weird, great summer. All right, let's move on to our next one. So Bug's Life is number 18. In at number 17, I'm going to get hate for this one because people are going to say this should be lower. But in at number 17, The Good Dinosaur. I think this movie is sorely underappreciated. It's a what-if movie. What if the asteroid had never hit planet Earth and the dinosaurs had survived? Well, you would effectively get kind of a dino western, which is what Pixar have presented us with. I'll go on record now and saying this has got some of, if not the best special effects Pixar have ever created. If you're watching live, just look at the trees, the foliage, the ground, the grapes. I mean, yes, the animations of the dinosaurs and humans is not, or the cavemen, I should say, is not the best, but the water, the air, the trees. I mean, it is so beautiful, this movie. It's a little bit scary in parts of the T-Rexes and the hunting and the wild westing and all that. It might not be as kid friendly as it could be. The story is not the best. You can tell this was a troubled production and went through 3 rewrites. But for all the problems it had, there's a few fantastic scenes in there. Notably, I say it every time. You've heard me say it with AJ before. The sticks, which are personified, which are showing, family unity and how they've both lost family members, is just heartbreaking. And it's such a great way of two souls understanding a similar pain that each have been through independently. It's a wonderful cinematic moment. The movie as a whole, not the best, very simplistic story, stunning animation though. And because it had that one moment that got me all, it didn't cry, but got me teared up. It had that moment that got me a bit, teary-eyed. And because of how goddamn beautiful it is, I am putting The Good Dinosaur in at number 17. Going back to what we said before, Volcano versus Dante's Peak. Tucky says Dante's Peak has Pierce Brosnan. Automatic win. I would listen to that. Billy Mount says another one, Paul Blart versus Observe and Report. I am proud to say, I think, that I have not seen either of those, Billy Mount. In reference to Good Dinosaur coming up 2 weeks in a row, Gavin Mann says 2 weeks in a row, and Francis Laundry affirms still haven't seen The Good Dinosaur. Listen, Francis, I'm not suggesting you put it top of your must-see list or anything, but it's got some good parts in it. The parts are greater than the sum of the movie. Tucky, though, says, not a fan of The Good Dinosaur at all. It's a mid-range DreamWorks movie, not a Pixar movie. That's fair. That's a very fair comment. Although, bro, Tucky, I would argue that DreamWorks have actually put out some good movies. I'm a big fan of Despicable Me. I love How to Train Your Dragon. Shrek is great. You know, be nice with DreamWorks. They've done some good stuff. They've done some very, very, very good stuff. So that was my number 17. And in at number 16, we are slowly moving up. The one that came out this year, guys, I loved it. In at number 16, we've got Turning Red. This movie, I thought, once again, we're focusing on a young female character. I thought this hit so many perfect beats. I applaud Disney and Pixar for not making a woman's menstruation cycle a taboo topic and metaphorically going through what young girls experience as teenagers and the anger they experience as their bodies change, and kind of bookending the whole thing, as you can see here, with the atypical teenage boy band. There's so much good in this movie. I do think that this one should have got a wide cinema release, and it had me smiling from ear to ear. You know what? And as a father of a young girl now, you may not agree, but I think this is the sort of movie which I would be very comfortable and happy showing to my daughter as and when she gets old enough. I find it fucking weird, some of the commentary I've seen online, though. Like, the one thing I saw constantly was in kind of Reddit forums and stuff was, I'm guessing there must be parents saying, oh, Turning Red is terrible because, it's teaching kids how to argue with their parents. First of all, kids don't need to be taught how to argue with their parents. I think we can all agree that comes as a natural fucking skill to all of us as we're going through our teenage years. It's just part of the parcel. And then, the glorification of the period, as I heard some people calling it. I mean, glorification? No. Can we swap the word glorification with normalization? Because, like, we need to, like, I'm not saying any men on here or any men that I know in my circles, but I think we are all aware of the fact that there is still a ridiculous amount of taboo feeling around women's periods. And it's fucking ridiculous. Like, imagine if you had a daughter. Like, you wouldn't, when she, starts bleeding, you wouldn't want her to come up to you and you'd be like, ugh, gross, you're a disgusting human. It's like, no, come on, you got to be supportive with these things. Can we all just show a bit of compassion here, please? Like, to normalize something like this, never glorify, but to normalize something like this and to discuss it through metaphor using, Chinese mythology. Well done, Pixar. Well fucking done. I had no issue with this movie. Loved it. Loved it, loved it, loved it. And Gavin Mann said, did that boy have angel wings? So that's a show that they go to again, if you're Pod Squad, I was showing one of the clips from Turning Red here. The one with, I think they're called the A Team or A Band, or I can't remember the name of the boy band. You'll have to forgive me. But the big show that they see in Toronto at the end, yes, they're all being lifted by strings with angel wings. It's proper 90s boy band stuff. Billy Mount says, sorry, Billy, let me get your comment up. There are so many coming of age films that are better than this. Guys, I can only but apologize for this second silence. If you're listening on Pod Squad, you may have some awkward pauses here. I hope you find it in you to keep fast forwarding. I don't know what's going on tonight. I think StreamYard is being a bit temperamental. It was being dicky last week. Yeah, I see a few of you are still here, so thank you for sticking around, guys. I do apologize about this. I'll just do my best to keep pushing through this. My Wi-Fi is fine. Computer is an extremely powerful computer. I have no idea why this is happening. But yeah, let me go back to Billy Mount's comments here, which is there are so many coming of age films that are better than this. There are indeed. There are many, many, many coming of age films that are better than this. But without comparing it to other coming of age films, just in the prospect of ranking it in a Pixar list, I'm very happy with how I've put it. I think this is a really fun, good little movie. Francis Lalonde says, it's a catch-22 situation. It's not in general openly talked about because reasons, but because reasons, it's not generally openly discussed. Yeah. And thank you, Tucky, for town. Thank you, sir. Cool. So what the Francis Lalonde, the penis got you. Very good. And then the tech is here. You should have given me a shout out for the show. Why would you have come and joined? Bro, I would have happily had you, but I thought it would have been a bit more fun to do like 26 movie rankings. So, Dan, I didn't know, bro. I'm a Pixar fanboy. I would have loved to have had you on. But yeah, but glad you're here now, bro. So where were we? We were on 17, which is turning red. Let's keep going. 16 was turning red, sorry. So on to my number 15, which is in at number 15, we have got Onward. Now, I think this is exactly bang in the middle of Pixar movies. I am a sucker for fantasy. I think it's so nice to see a kind of fantasy and medieval setting. I love the fact that they've taken fables and modernized them. I love Chris Pratt and Tom Holland's voice work in this. I love the estranged brother dynamic. I love the themes of loss going on here. And I love the fact that it's tell me if this resonates with you guys. I love the fact that it's almost like an Amblin ET-esque style vibe to it. I'm not saying it is like ET. I'm not saying it copies ideas from ET, not at all. But I'm saying I get kind of like an Amblin Entertainment vibe from it. It's like if Steven Spielberg did a Pixar movie underneath Amblin, I think we would have got something like this. Modern Spielberg, of course. I really can't speak highly enough for this movie. I love the setting. I love the world we're in. I love the modernization of the fables. As I said, I loved pretty much everything about it. And the fact that a movie that I like so much is sitting at number 15 just speaks volumes about how good the movies we're seeing coming up are. So that was my number 15. Billy Mount said, Den the Tech says, what a lovely movie. Billy Mount says, I haven't seen this one, but I love the actors in this movie. Billy, go and check it out, my bro, because honestly, there is nothing wrong with this film. It's a really lovely little film. Right, cool. So in at number 14, some people may be surprised that this is so high, given that I've seen it called out a bit before. But in at number 14, Monsters University. Now, let's just be real here. This is like if Pixar did a high school movie. This is like if Pixar did. Do you know what this is? This is Revenge of the Nerds. This is literally Pixar doing Revenge of the Nerds. Was it necessary? No. Like a lot of Pixar sequels, does it pale in comparison to the original? Yes. Did it hit as deeply and profoundly ever as the original did? Absolutely not. But was it an absolute blast? I guess, yeah. For all intents and purposes, yeah, I had a blast with Monsters University because I'm kind of a sucker for the high school, teenage movie. So that's something AJ and I are known for on this podcast. There's movies like American Pie, movies like Revenge of the Nerds, movies like Van Wilder. We love all of that biznatch. So this is right up the silver screen dude street. It may not be for you. I got that vibe from the comments that it's not for everyone. Doesn't touch the original, of course. But mid to upper range Pixar movie, I think, is appropriate. I certainly don't think this movie belongs amongst company with the Cars and the Braves and the Souls of the world. So I like this film. And Gavin Mann says, the slug running to get to class on time always gets me. This is what I'm saying. It's got the yuck yucks. Billy Mount says, I saw this in the theater and I enjoyed it a bit. Yeah, a bit. That's about what I'm saying. Tucky says, loving that you don't have Monsters University really low. I have it too. I have it too. 4. A lot of fun and 90s high school vibe works for me. Good. Den the Tech says, yes, it is Revenge of the Nerds. I like this prequel. Yes, it's good. Prequel. Sorry, you're quite right. Prequel, not sequel. You are quite right. Billy Mount says, Nico, how do you compare it with Monsters at Work? You know what, Billy? I actually haven't seen Monsters at Work, so I'll add that to my to-see list. So, cool. And that was my number 14. We are kind of getting towards the business end here. Okay, this one people are going to hate me for categorically. The fact that this isn't in my top 10, people are going to go nuts for, but it's my list, so please don't unsubscribe. Just love and listen. Yep. In at number 13, Up. Now, the first 10 minutes of Up are some of the best cinema that I have ever seen. It is the first 10 minutes of Up that made it be the second ever animated movie to win an Oscar. The montage of seeing them go through growing up together, to not being able to have kids, to him losing her. Amazing. Everything that follows, I'm not so hot on everything that follows. Some of the imagery I like that follows, like this scene, I think it's coming up here. I've cut it in this scene where, you know, the metaphor of him literally carrying his load and the burden on his back through the jungle to get to the place where him and the wife wanted to be. There are some nice themes and ideas behind it, but for most part, I think Up, God, I'm going to get hate for this. Up is a one-trick pony. The trick it does is masterful. But the trick it does, unfortunately, only takes up 10 minutes of the movie. So good is that trick that it gets to rank as highly as it does. But it's only 10 minutes of the movie. And therefore, for me personally, under no circumstance should Up be making the top 10 Pixar movies. If we were discussing the first 10 minutes or the last 10 minutes of a Pixar movie, this is number 1. Then it's a whole different argument. But that first 10 minutes, some of the best cinema ever. The rest of the movie, fine. Yeah, charming, nice, lovely, but not that. Frank Torres says, is Up one of the most powerful opening 5 minutes of cinema ever? Yes. Categorically, yes. Gavin Mann says, everything that follows is the adventure that they should have had. It just happened to be with someone else. Correct. Den the Tech says, thank you. It's only the first 10 minutes. Riri Thomas says, I know you know your film trivia pretty well, Nico. Has Andrew Garfield ever done a voice for a Pixar movie? If so, he should. He's great. Andrew Garfield, to my knowledge, Riri, has never, ever done a Pixar movie. But you're quite right. I could definitely see Andrew's voice working in Pixar. Francis Lawn says, so Up is like a mid-range kaiju film. Yes. I mean, it's nothing like a kaiju film, but it's also completely like a mid-range kaiju film. And then the text says, I agree with you 100%. Thank you, Dan. Love you, my brother. So that was my number 13. In at number 12. In at number 12, we have got The Incredibles Part 2. Man, we had to wait a long time to get a sequel to this. And I like the direction they took with this movie. Now, I don't think it achieves the same heights as the first, but I thought the villain was very inventive. I liked the way it kept you guessing who the villain actually was. I liked the way that they kind of flipped the story on its head and did a kind of Mr. Mum storyline, you know, so whereby Mr. Fantastic, he's the one who has to now become the stay-at-home parent and take care of Jack and Elastigirl and sorry, not Elastigirl, but it is Elastigirl who becomes the hero in this movie. So once again, Pixar proving that female empowerment is real and that it, when used properly, can be done masterfully. But I loved the Mr. Mum vibe. Dad stays home, looks after kids. Jack Cookie Num Num. Jack is one of the cutest little babies ever, except mine, of course. And the mother being the centerpiece hero of the movie. All the themes in this work for me. I thought, the undercurrent being that mothers are the real heroes. As a father, obviously, I get offended by that. I could do without that. But I get the age we're living in. I get the message behind it. I think parents are heroes, not wanting to pat myself too hard on the back or break my arm or anything, but I get the message. I get the message, and ultimately it's a sweet message. Right. Cool. So Riri said, no, that one we've had already. Gavin Mann says the granddad's anger towards Russell and his eventual arc is brilliant and is easily top 4. That's fair. That's fair. So Incredibles 2, that was my number 12. Just missing out on the top 10. Just missing out on the top 10. I think, let's see how people react to this. Just missing out on the top 10. The first ever spin-off movie and the new one out of the cinema, Lightyear. The movie that you did not know that you needed. Now, I've been seeing what people are saying online, that it's dead average, that it's not that good, that it's cheap thrills. I could not disagree more. This movie made me cry. This movie made me laugh, and it really did make me cry, by the way. I'm not just saying that. This movie made me cry. It made me laugh. Remember, I'm a dog person, and it made me fall in love with the robotic cat. It gave me some really, really nice surprises with what they did with Emperor Zurg. It even, this is going to be a deep pull here, but it even gave me some Dead Space vibes. Now, that's a game. If you've played that fucking game, you know what I'm talking about. Dead Space is the shit. But there's one scene where they're doing like this zero gravity jump, and I was like, they've so got that idea from Dead Space, which is a good thing because that's a fantastic game. But look, first off, I'd like to extend my apologies to the community and to the channel, because I did say in my out of theater reaction to Lightyear that I would do a review on the weekend. Life got in the way. I apologize for that. The mini review I would give for it right now, with permission, would be that, do you need to, my top rate ranking for movies is must see in cinema. Based on the fact that I enjoyed it as much as I did, yes, see it in the cinema. Based on the fact that what we were discussing at the top of the show, which is you have to break this culture of just waiting for things to go on streaming, or eventually the quality of the movies you're watching is going to decrease because the big studios will stop investing money into movies to accommodate your desire to watch on streaming. So for a political reason, I would say, yes, see it in the cinema. As a story, you could very well and comfortably watch this one at home without any qualms of having missed like a great cinematic experience. But I may be in a minority here. I loved Lightyear. And again, like Up made me cry in the first 10 minutes. Lightyear made me cry in the first 30. It's wonderful, this movie. It's like an homage to movies like Serenity. It's like an homage to, movies like Firefly. It's to things like Firefly. Like there's so many of Battlestar Galactica. There's so many great, or Stargate. There's so many great kind of pulpy sci-fi references in here. If you're a sci-fi fan, you are going to really like this movie. I really, really, really loved it. And what have we got here? Billy Mount says, I need to see this movie. Yes, you do. Gavin Mann says, still to see it. No spoilers, please. No worries. Billy Mount says, I'll wait till it hits Disney Plus. You can. But remember, you are sending a message to the studios if you do that. Den the Tech says, love this film. Seen it weeks ago, but couldn't say anything. I'm going to have to talk to you about that when I see you this weekend. And Frank Torres says, Nico, your Dead Space analogy sold me a ticket. Hey, there you go, my brother. Billy Martin says, Nico, do you remember the 2D animated series Buzz Lightyear of Star Command? I remember it. I never saw it. We've got a friend, Den the Tech and I are on a comic book group, and we've got a friend called Nate who was actually saying the other day in the group that apparently some stuff in Lightyear retcons some of that series. I've never seen that 2D animated series, so I wouldn't be able to tell you, Billy. But if it does or doesn't, what I can tell you is that whatever they've done in this movie story-wise, 2 thumbs way up. Really, really good. Really, really good. Gavin Mann says it's 11 on your Pixar list. Sounds like a must-see to me. It is. It is. Please go and see this movie. Please go and see this movie. It's wonderful. So, guys, hour 15 in. Now the Movie Mount Rushmore can begin. So AJ and I each go our separate way. We said, we're not doing that this week, but we're in the business end of the list now. So on to our top 10. And in at number 10. In at number 10, Paris. We are going to Paris for Ratatouille. Now, you wouldn't think a rat would be the connoisseur of great food, but what they did, people may not know this, especially with the accent, especially if you're new to the channel, but I am French, and this movie, and I am from Paris, and this movie made me feel homesick. This movie made me feel so at home. I loved the way that it both embraced the romanticism that France has with haute cuisine, Michelin high-star cooking. And I loved the way that it also poked fun at the snobbery and the criticism that surrounds five-star cooking. Because, of course, whenever you have something great, it invites great criticism. Which is why I've always said to people when they've said, you're like a wannabe movie critic. I'm like, no. I am never, ever sold myself as a movie critic. As I said to on the show with AJ, movie pundit. I'm here with my friends online and with my best friend, usually in studio, talking about movies. Punditry. Yeah, there's no critiquing going on here. I have an opinion, of course, but my opinion is no more valid than yours. Or less valid than yours even. But what Ratatouille does is just sell you on the idea that food, when done properly, I mean, stating the obvious here, is the source of life, is the joie de vivre. It's the je ne sais quoi. It's the thing that makes you happy. There's that age-old saying, isn't it? The way to a man's heart is through his stomach. And it's true. Like, food like this makes you happy to be alive. It's always bugged AJ a bit because he don't like get down with the rodents. Neither do I. But like, yeah, I love Ratatouille, man. Absolutely love Ratatouille. Gavin Man says, get ready to punt. Yeah, we're not there today. Billy Mount says, AJ is no longer in Mountain Rushmore. No, he is. He's just sick this week. He will be back next week, hopefully. Francis Lawn says, I hear Ratatouille. All I can think of is Fawlty Towers. He put Basil in the Ratatouille. Yes. Well done, Francis. The last ever episode of Fawlty Towers, episode 6, season 2. Basil the rat ends up in the Ratatouille. You are spot on. I never even drew that comparison. Well done, you, for a great little pull. Riri Thomas says, I remember AJ doesn't like this. I'm with AJ. I found this a bit boring and average. Sorry, Nico. That's fine. I can handle that. That's absolutely fine. Gavin Mann says, did it have a certain je ne sais quoi about it? It did. It had a big je ne sais quoi about it. And Billy Mount says, Patton Oswalt was great as the rat. He was indeed. AJ's not even here and y'all are firing shots at him. The Ratatouille. And Billy Mountain says, I like the bit where the chef is drunk. Good for you. So that was my number 10. In at number 9, maybe a bit of a shocker for some. Yeah, we'll see. Let's see how people react. In at number 9, the original Incredibles. Look, some people say this is the best Pixar movie ever. I'll say one thing is the clip I just put in there. It's certainly the best Fantastic Four movie we've ever had. There's also this kind of ongoing soundbite saying this is one of the best superhero movies ever. I'm missing a trick on this one, guys. Like, I like this movie. It's definitely top 10 territory. It's got amazing family values to it. It's got a superb storyline to it. I love the depiction of superpowers in it. I love the dynamic between all of the characters in it. I can't fault this movie for the life of me. It's, it's got a few sinister moments in it. But it's just a barrel of laughs. It's absolutely brilliant. But people say this is the best Pixar movie. I don't get it. Top 10, sure. But for me, this, as you've just seen from my ranking, this doesn't even make top 5. Like, it's good. It's great, in fact. But best Pixar movie. I can't hear that noise. I cannot hear that noise. But yeah, that's just me. Gavin Mann says, is that cars outside? Well, yes, Gavin, actually it is. So as I said at the top of the show, I have been evicted from my studio, and I am now basically in a corner of the living room. So that's me in my studio set up here now, put into a corner so that my daughter can have a room to herself, because she's crawling around and she needs her own space now. So we're going to be buying a house soon. Yeah. So I'll have my studio back the way I want set up, and we're going to get a really nice background as and when the house is bought. It's going to look great. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, for now, I'm in the living room, and it's very hot in the living room, despite the fact that I've got a fan blowing on me here and the windows are wide open. Those are cars you can hear outside. And Francis Lone says, bummer. Would have rated Incredibles maybe in 5 to 7 range. Yeah, see, I don't get that. I don't get it. And I really, 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 really like this movie, but I wouldn't put it that high. Gavin Mann says, not seen either Incredibles. Give them a try, bro. People love them. I am on a minority of people who love them less. Still love them, but less. The Fantastic Four 1994. That's the Roger Corman version, isn't it? Dan the Tech says, love this movie. What a great team-up superhero movie. Best Fantastic Four movie. Oh, by a country mile, brother. By a country mile movie. Gavin Mann says, best Pixar movie is still to come in your list. You haven't mentioned any of the 3 yet. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Right, so that was my number 9. In at number 8. I love this film, actually, yeah. In at number 8, I'm happy with the placement on this one. Coco. Now, remember I said earlier when we were talking about Soul, it's like, an afterlife movie. I'm pretty sure we've seen that already. Yes, we have. Right here in Coco. And the afterlife in this is sensationally beautiful. This is about a young boy who gets transported by accident to the afterlife. And in order to save his own soul, he has to reconnect with his great-great-grandfather or great-grandfather, a musical legend, to find his way back to his home. It is so wonderfully put together. It is such a brilliant curtain raise on Mexican culture. The music in it is sensational. This is a movie I want to see a sequel to, because that afterlife they created, that is a world I personally want to spend more time in. This movie is so good. In the last few years, this has been Pixar's best movie, going back to sort of 2018. I mean, this blew my mind when I saw it. And that end scene with him and the grandmother playing on the guitar is just, it's wonderful. It is absolutely wonderful. Francis Lon says, agree with Coco. And Gavin Mann says, I managed to hold it back in Coco until the song at the end. That song, Remember Me. It's so good. It's so good. I can't stress that enough. In case you haven't realized, fucking love this film. Absolutely love this film. And Frank Torres says, agree with Coco as well. So that was my number 8. In at number 7. Haha, a lot of people's favorite. We've got Monsters, Inc. I adore this film as well. I think this is Pixar's 4th or 5th movie. What was so clever about this film is that where it started out as kind of like an almost office-esque, men at work, almost like a buddy, not a buddy cop, but, buddy comedy thing. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, after we've got, we've kind of dispersed with the Saturday Night Live style skits, all of a sudden, we get, out of nowhere, this little girl, Boo. And the movie, out of nowhere, takes a turn from being good to being incredible. It becomes heartfelt. It remains funny. It becomes kind of scary in parts. And the story that everyone loves in Monsters, Inc. Just the idea that for centuries, monsters have been harnessing the power of fear, the scream, making us scared, until they realized, this is obviously the sum up of the film, that there's so much more powerful in laughter. Now, what a great message that is. What a great message that don't be afraid, be happy, in its simplest form. What a great message to send to not only kids, for adults as well. And this is why, you know, Billy Mount said earlier, you know, the family movies, this is the point I'm making. And this is why Brave and Soul annoyed me so much, because Monsters Inc. shows you can be kid friendly, but have superb themes that entertain the adults and keep the adults hooked. Monsters Inc. is amazing. It is absolutely amazing. Then the text says, what a cast. Yeah, rightfully so. Billy Crystal, John Goodman, what's his face? Mr. Pink, fucking Steve Buscemi. Yeah. Just what a cast indeed. Gavin Mann says, put the thing back where I came from. Francis Lon says, I'd rank Monsters Inc. maybe number 5. I would listen to that. On any other day, I would listen to that. Riri Thomas says, Monsters Inc. has so many emotions. It's almost the most roller coaster of emotions Pixar film. I'd hear that too. Gavin Mann, yes, indeed. Steve Buscemi was the voice of Randall. And Tucky says, why is Tucky's comment not coming up? Tucky says, Billy Crystal turned down the Buzz Lightyear role before Tim Allen, so he was then very keen to take on Mike Wazowski role after seeing success of Toy Story. I actually didn't know that. Billy Crystal turned... Could I hear Billy Crystal saying to infinity and beyond? No, I couldn't. I'm glad things turned out the way they did. And Gavin Mann says, the hair detail on Sully was crazy. Crazy. Yeah. Kitty. Kitty. And Frank Torres says, we've still got 3 Toy Story films to go. We do indeed. We do indeed, sir. Stay tuned. We're coming up to them in a very short while. But not yet. So that was my number 7. And in at number 6, Fish Are Friends, Not Food. Finding Nemo is my number 6. This movie, along with The Blue Planet, got so many people interested in the underwater world that as an underwater cinematographer, it makes me so happy. Story-wise, look, father searching for son. It's a story we've seen before, but where the way Pixar managed to capture the underwater world and show the wonders of the deep to an audience not familiar with them, I say again, as a diver, just makes me so fucking happy. I can't tell you. It's got so many great nautical references too. Like my favorite being Bruce, obviously. Some people may not know this. The mechanical shark in Jaws kept breaking down, and it's what made the Jaws production budget get so expensive. So much so that Steven Spielberg, I believe it was either his accountant or publicist, pretty sure it was his accountant though, kept on calling him and saying, you need to pull the plug on this film. We cannot make this movie. Steven Spielberg's accountant was called Bruce, and they actually ended up naming the mechanical shark Bruce. And then you've got the great white shark in Finding Nemo. Hello, name's Bruce. You know, it's so good. And that's just one instance of the genius that permeates this movie. Yes, okay, we've already stated that we don't like Ellen DeGeneres. I'll listen to that noise all day long. Awful person. But the movie is fantastic, and it's got so many nice beats to it, which Finding Dory just lacked. That whole beginning scene with his wife dying by barracuda, the part where he gets captured, the part where he finds Dory and the sharks, and the part where they go down into the deep and go through the jellyfish and then the turtles. I mean, it's just, it's such an adventure. It's such an adventure. It's brilliant. Yeah. Francis Lawn says, now Finding Nemo, I'd personally rank 7 to 8. Gavin Mann says, potential Wall-E and Inside Out in top 4. Can't disagree with that. Francis Lalonde says, trying to justify moving Incredibles upward. Yeah, keep trying. Tucky says, went to see Finding Nemo with mates during my carefree college years, so got a lot of love on nostalgia for it. It's so good, Tucky. I'm really glad you still love it. Never caught that! Naming of Bruce. Yes, Francis, I got you. That was all a little tip of the hat to Jaws. So you're a clownfish. Tell us a joke. Gavin Mann says, Nico, we'll need to send you a sketch of the mechanics they used underwater for Bruce and Jaws. Yes, please. Yes, please. Do so. So Finding Nemo is my number 6. Right, guys? Top 5 time. We're there. We are there. This is going to piss people off now, my ranking. I know for a fact that people aren't going to agree with this. But hey-ho. Here we are in the top 5. And at number 5, the OG Toy Story. I'm not being funny here. I love this movie still to infinity and beyond. Toy Story changed cinema. It changed the game. It has, as with all of these top tier Pixar movies, the voice acting is incredible between Tim Allen and Tom Hanks. It has got incredibly well done themes of existential crises. Yes, it's got tropes that we've seen in cinema before, but reinvented and done so bloody well. It's timeless. This is a movie. It doesn't matter how old you are, and it doesn't matter how old your kids are and their kids are. This movie is intergenerationally definingly brilliant. It is forever. It is a game-changing forever movie, this one. I adore it. Absolutely adore it. Gavin Mann says, above 2, bold. I love it. And Francis Lalonde says, Toy Story. I think number 4. And then the text says, I can agree with that. Thumbs up. And Francis Lalonde says, Mr. Potato Head ruled. Yeah, he did, didn't he? Such an asshole. Such an asshole. All right, guys. That was my number 5. Sorry, let me just get rid of that comment there. Francis, boom, bang. And in at number 4, I think you can all see which way I'm going here. In at number 4, we've got Toy Story 2. Above Toy Story 1. Yes. Here's why. I thought what they did with Toy Story 2 landed more of an emotional punch to me than Toy Story 1 did. Now, of course, were AJ here, the argument he likes to use is that none of these other Toy Story movies would be possible without Toy Story 1. Now, of course, that comment stands to be true, but Toy Story 2 did beats that Toy Story 1 for me. It's not that it failed to do, it never set out to do. Toy Story 1 had to establish these characters and the world they live in and establish the idea that, toys are actually alive, which of course we all love, right? What Toy Story 2 did is it injected it with emotion. If you disagree, think about Jessie's song, When She Loved Me. You try and tell me there is a single moment in Toy Story that good. There's not. There is not. Those moments in Toy Story 2 elevate it for me above Toy Story 1. It's so heartbreaking hearing Jessie's story and hearing what happened to her. All those years in isolation. I mean, think about this. It is literally a prison for the mind. She's been cast aside, set aside by the person that she loved and who held above everyone. And after years and years and years of neglect, that person takes her back and then abandons her. Like, that is some heart-wrenching shit. I invite anyone to rewatch that now and not try and hold back your tears. It is so hard to watch. And then you move on from, obviously, one scene doth not make a movie, as I've already discussed with Up. I think what they did with Woody in this story was sensational, giving him the choice where both are right and therefore neither is right. Because in his right hand, he holds that which he thought he held near and dear, Andy and his friends. But then in the other, he's now just been presented with the story of Jessie and the story of loss and neglect. And a story which, as we know, kind of turns out to happen to him in Toy Story 3. But I don't want to skip ahead, so I'll come back to this point. But a story of warning saying, hey, eventually you are going to be cast aside. You are going to be forgotten about. You will stop being important to him. Do you want to just be thrown away and abandoned like I was? Or do you actually want to hang around with me and Bullseye and Stinky Pete and make a difference to us where you are able to? Or do you want to run back to your friends for the short term, be happy, but in the long term, you're going to be cast aside? That is brilliant storytelling. And for that reason, Toy Story 2 ranks above Toy Story 1 for me. Let me see the comments. Tucky says, in the first few minutes, you get the look, I'm Picasso joke, and then a little later, Potato Head using his lips to imply kiss ass. Genius. Yes, that's Toy Story 1. Genius. Francis Lawn says, don't remember Toy Story 2 very well. Please go back and rewatch it, Francis. It's sensational. Quick45 says, yes again. Oh my God, thumbs up. Yes. And Kevin Mann says, does AJ's argument fall apart with his love for T2 then? Yeah. Where that hashtag now, Gavin? A joke, of course. But yeah, look, it is what it is. The AJ's defense for the Toy Story franchise has always been one is the one is the one, because that's what created it all. It doesn't exist without that one, which obviously has some truth, but for me personally lacks the development. But you've heard AJ and I go at that one before. Francis Lund says, Nico, question. Were there already plans for Toy Story sequels before As Original was in production? To my knowledge, no. Toy Story was meant to be to my knowledge, Toy Story wasn't even meant to be a feature film. It was meant to be like a kind of almost a product test or a product demo for studio execs. And they went, whoa, shit, this is good. What happens to this cowboy? And that's how the story came to be. So I don't believe there was ever plans for sequels. Then the tech, I see your choices there. I'm going to star them and come back to them later. Tucky says, I'd argue Buzz's realization he's a toy in the original is deeper than Jesse's story, but they're both great. Ooh. So thematically, I hear what you're saying, Tucky. But actually, I do hear what you're saying. But delivery is important. And although Randy Newman's song, gave you the feels, I thought the montage of Jesse being abandoned, that moved me to tears in the first. And, Buzz's story never moved me to tears. Maybe I was too young. Maybe it'll change if I watch it now. Who knows? Gavin Mann says, thoughts on the theory that Andy's mum was Jesse's original owner? I've always prescribed to that theory, and I have always loved it. Because if you prescribe to that theory, think about Toy Story 2 when she is so adamant. Think about Toy Story 1 and 2, where in Toy Story 1, when Andy is expressing like fear that Woody's gone, the mother doesn't seem to really care, right? So she's kind of like, whatever, I've been there before. But then in number 2, she's very adamant, like, no, this toy is not for sale. So it's the way I like to think about it. It's almost like the pain that Andy was in reminded the mum of what she did to Jesse. And that's why in Toy Story 2, her character is different. And she's so protective of Andy's toys because it's like, no. I remember what happened to me. I'm not putting my son through that. So, yeah, I love that. Love that. And Riri Thomas says, Toy Story 2 is the first animated film that made me cry. Gavin Mann with my hashtag Nicoholics, my man. Thank you. Billy Mount says, I love Toy Story 2 as a kid. Love it now too, Billy. Going back and watch it. I hope you still love it. Tucky says, Andy's mom has been the villain all along. And Billy Mount says, the actor voiced Al was the same guy in Jurassic Park and Seinfeld. Yeah. Yes, of course it was. Of course it was. And in what's that one with Sharon Stone? Come on, where she shows her minge. What's it called? Guys, help me out here. It's not Dangerous Liaisons. What is it? Dangerous Liaisons? Fatal Attraction. Jesus. And yes, Chris Trengrove is here. Hello, Chris. Wayne Newman. By the way, guys, I'm going to take a moment to plug my boy Chris here. Did y'all know that Chris Trengrove is making a movie? The guy right here in the chat who knows his movies and has just come in, not even a hello, just bang, Wayne Newman. And he's correct. Wayne Newman. Although, is it Wayne Knight or Wayne Newman? I saw, Chris, it may be Wayne Knight. I think it was Randy Newman and Wayne Knight. You may be right, though. I'll have to double check that. Chris Trengrove, who you can follow on Instagram, just search for the name, Chris Trengrove. He will come up, is making a movie. My man here is a producer. So if you're not doing it already, please go and follow Chris Trengrove on Twitter, and please go and support his movie, because one of our own, I love the way I'm laying claim to you now, Chris, but one of our own is a movie producer. A weird little film family member right here in our YouTube corner is a film producer. I salute you, Christopher. I see all of you now. Basic gangster. Thank you. Yeah. And Francis Lawrence says, think you mentioned Chris T's film. Any links, Kickstarter, etc.? Chris, the floor is yours, my friend. I leave it to you to comment away. Have at it, my friend. So yeah, Toy Story 2, that was my number 4. I think y'all can see why I'm going with my number 3. In at number 3, the best of the 3. In at number 3, the film that broke everyone, Toy Story 3. The film which has arguably got the best villain in Lotso. The film which has got so many beautiful, subtle touches, like the way that when they're in the daycare, they have a look at this. I think I've got the clip up here. Look out for it. I'll see if I can pause it, actually. But so, okay, you've got Rex here. Again, Pod Squad, I'm sorry that you can't see this. Let me keep playing. So as they're in the daycare and they... come on. Where's the scene? Cool. Look at Rex here. Yes, looks just like paint. Alternatively, think of it as prison tattoos. It may be a bit of a reach, but what they have done with Toy Story 3, with all the little subtleties, like the prison tattoos, with the things like turning, the jungle gym into the guard tower, with brilliant... Look, this scene, for instance. Literally, what you're seeing here, Woody and Buzz are in fucking Dante's Inferno. These are the 9 circles of hell these toys are in. And they're literally, I'm ending it with a shot here of them acknowledging their own mortality and saying goodbye to each other. And this is a kid's film? What the fuck? Now, where the movie, I think, hit everyone hard, and this is something I'm kind of going to try and do with my daughter. There was a 10-year gap between Toy Story 2 and 3. And I think that 10-year gap is very important because much like Andy in the movie, we, the audience who grew up with the Toy Story movies, have obviously grown up. So all these feelings of nostalgia, all these feelings of the elasticity of time that are permeating the movie, we feel just like the characters in the movie. And whenever you have that type of connection to a character, that for me is when a movie becomes timeless. When you can so closely relate to what a character is going through, because you've been there yourself, you know what's going on with that. That's power. And now I come back to the point I was making in Toy Story 2. You remember Jessie's little story when she loved me, the abandonment? Although what Andy did to his toys is far, far, far softer, and he made sure that they had a good home as opposed to just tossing him to the side and hoping. Jessie's premonition came to pass. That's a fact. It came to pass in a different way, but what Jessie was afraid of, being abandoned again, came to pass. It came to pass. Going back to Chris a bit, Gavin Mahan says Chris Trengrove was late because he was picking up his tux for the red carpet event. My man. Francis Lond, I still haven't seen Toy Story 3. Okay, Francis. Let's have a chat. Before next week, please go and see Toy Story 3. I implore you. I beg you. Go and treat yourself to this movie. And Gavin Mann says, that's a weird way of saying Toy Story 3 is number 1. No. Dan the Tech says, my number 1, I cry every time. Me too. Chris Trengrove says, thank you, Nico. I'm part of a team producing a horror feature by director-writer Parker Brennan. That's an anthology of stories that focus on queer identification. My man, Chris. And Gavin Mann says, that scene, the scene that Nico had no feelings for. Look, the fact that it's the Dante's Circle of Hell that makes people cry, that's never the one that got me. The one that always got me is that final scene when Andy leaves them. It's the so long, partner. It breaks me every single time. Yes, as Den saying here, when Andy reaches for Woody at the end, it's so painful. It's so painful. And tangenting back to Chris here, the film is Hauntology, and we do have a Kickstarter. We've more than halfway to making our first stretch goal. Every little bit helps. Chris, we support you here on the channel. In fact, you know what, Chris? I'm going to include that Kickstarter link in our video description starting from next week, okay? And I agree with you. Toy Story 3 is perfect. And now I must block some porn. And porn is blocked. Porn is blocked. Right, guys. Top 2 time. Top 2 time. In at number 2, which obviously means you're going to guess my number 1. But in at number... Oh, just quickly. Hello, Tien. Grim Reaper. Hello, mate. How are we doing? Great to hear from you. And Gavin Man says 100% agree, Nico. Completely fell apart at the end of Toy Story 3. It's devastating. It is devastatingly sad. And in at number 2 now, nearly at the top of the list, in at number 2, arguably Pixar's most experimental film and most art house film, WALL-E. WALL-E is wonderful. It is charming. It is heartfelt. And it explores the universality of every sentient being wanting companionship. The way that... Look here. And again, Pod Squad, I apologize. But look here. WALL-E is longing for companionship. He's looking to the stars literally to find his soulmate. And then when he thinks he's found his soulmate in the form of... they go on a rip-roaring adventure together where he's trying to get her back. It definitely has some things to say, obviously, not very subtly, about what we are doing to our own planet and about what we are doing to ourselves as human beings, the way that we've all become. I mean, if anything, WALL-E saw what was about to happen to us, and it guessed the whole freaking future, right? It's like we've all become a bit lazy, fat, and sedentary. We've all become a bit dependent on technology. I mean, WALL-E called it. Like, we were already heading that way, but to the degree we have, WALL-E called it. Yeah, and Tien, who this bot naked? That's the porn bots, which I'm now blocking. The porn is blocked. Yeah, it's... And the riskiest move of all is that first sort of 25 or so minutes where the whole film is basically dialogue free, like a silent movie. This is nearly, for me, Pixar's magnum opus, but not quite. Not quite. Because my number 1, my favorite Pixar movie of all time, could change, but as it stands right now on this day, my favorite Pixar movie is Inside Out. Oh my God, I love this film. From the way that we are exploring the inside of a young girl's mind as she goes through her first really difficult emotional change, which is leaving her home and settling somewhere new where she doesn't know anyone, having all of the feelings of happiness, anger, sadness, disgust, and fear all manifesting and showing how they are all integral parts of the human psyche. The way that the movie ends by showing that there's actually happiness in sadness and there's sadness in happiness, and that human beings have mixed emotions, and that's the power. And of course, I had to end up with this here. R.I.P. Bing Bong. Oh, Bing Bong. I. Bing Bong. Man. I test for anyone. Watch this movie and tell me you don't cry when he says, take her to the moon. I'm getting teared up now just thinking about it. It is so hard to watch. Like, look at me. I'm tearing up now. It is. Yep, there you go. Riri Thomas says it. Take her to the moon for me. It's because we've all done it, haven't we? We've all done it. We've all had that feeling of, you know, being alone and having, I'm actually tearing up now, having that childhood imaginary friend, you know, who's essentially our barrier, our protection, our safe place, but outgrowing that and therefore losing that and coming to grips with a big, wide, scary world. There is a universality to this movie. Everyone can relate to it. And I think what a amazing, original, beautiful way to show the complexity of human emotions in its simplest form. This is fucking filmmaking. This is filmmaking. This blew me away when I saw it, and still does to this day. It still does to this day. Tien says, Up is by far the most emotional Pixar movie for me. Well, we discussed Up, T. First 10 minutes are. I'll hear you all day on that, brother. Chris Trengrove says, Inside Out is great. The adventures of joy and sadness feel less organic, more scripted. But yes, the ending unification of joy and sadness is cathartically perfect. Well said, my friend. Well said. Guys, look, it is the end of a show. I can't believe it. Thank you, everyone, for helping me keep the show up to a usual runtime. I really appreciate it. I couldn't have done this without you and the great comments you've been providing me with. So thank you for that. It is that time. We are going to do a Rushmore. I don't really have AJ to fight with here this week. So I'm going to ask you guys to start dropping your top 4s or top 10s if you prefer, but I'll be focusing on your top 4 places. Drop your Rushmores into the comment section down below. I really want to see where you guys rank Pixar movies. And between myself and what you guys put, we should hopefully be able to kind of figure out what the Rushmore of Pixar movies are. And obviously that will then go on Twitter at Movie MT Rushmore, at We Love Movies with our good friend JT. And yeah, let's try and figure out this Rushmore. So let's see, what have we got so far? So Dan the Tech has given me 3. We've got WALL-E, Inside Out, and Toy Story 3. So you and me are exactly in line there, brother. So I'm hearing that all day long. Francis Sloan says, Silver Screen Dudes, my Rushmore. We've got Ratatouille, Incredibles, Toy Story, WALL-E. Okay, so that's twice WALL-E has come up now, guys. Tucky then says, for their top 4, it is Monsters University, Toy Story 3, Toy Story 2, Toy Story 1. Nice choice. Gavin Mann says we've got number 10, Monsters University, 9, Toy Story 2, 8, Monsters Inc., 7, Soul, wow, 6, Coco, 5, Inside Out, yeah, Gavin, 4, WALL-E, 3, Toy Story 2, 2, Up, 1, Toy Story 3. So I'm seeing WALL-E and Toy Story 3, that's twice in the top 4 now. What else have we got here? What else have we got? Riri has said, thank you, Riri. Inside Out, Toy Story 3, Up, The Incredibles. A lot of love for Up, huh? Okay. A lot of love for Up. Chris Trengrove has said The Incredibles, Toy Story 1, Toy Story 3, and WALL-E. So okay, for me, WALL-E has to be in there, right, guys? So WALL-E is definitely in there. Get a feeling that Toy Story 3 should be in there too. Francis Lalonde says WALL-E looks firm, as does Toy Story 3. Yeah, I think WALL-E and Toy Story 3 do need to be in there. Tien says, wow, no one likes Up. Well, hang on, T. Riri Thomas picked Up as her number 3. Their number 3. And pretty sure someone else picked Up. Yeah, look here, man. Gavin Mann put Up as his number 2. There's definitely some love for Up here. Don't you worry. Guys, tell me how you think this sounds. Send out in the comments down below. I'm thinking WALL-E, Toy Story 3, Inside Out. Guys, help me. What should the 4th be? What should the 4th spot on the Rushmore be? Let me go back through your lists quickly. See if there's a commonality. Let's go back through everything. Nah, T, allow cars, man. It's a classic film, sure, but it's definitely not making a Rushmore. So, okay, once again, Dan said Wall-E, Inside Out, Toy Story 3. Those are the three I'm batting for, essentially. Francis Lalonde has said Ratatouille, Incredibles, and Toy Story. I kind of only want to have one of the Toy Story movies in there, so let's avoid that spanner. Ratatouille, Incredibles. So we've got Ratatouille and Incredibles fighting. Then Tucky's brought Monsters University and the Toy Story franchise. We've got a Toy Story movie already. So we've got Ratatouille, we've got Incredibles, and we've got Monsters University. Okay. Gavin Mann's top four. Wall-E, Toy Story, Up. And so, okay, Up. We've got a whole other fucking Rushmore here. Riri Thomas has said Inside Out, Toy Story 3, Up. That's the second time we've had the Incredibles in the top four. Chris Trengove, Toy Story, Wall-E. That's 3 for the Incredibles. How would everyone feel about me putting the Incredibles as the 4th spot in the Rushmore? Gavin Mann says Wall-E, Toy Story 3, Up, Inside Out. I'm gonna do Toy Story 3, Inside Out, and Wall-E for sure. Up maybe. Tucky says Up should be there. Francis Lalonde, Wall-E, Toy Story 3, Inside Out, Up. That's a third one for Up. Tien, you're a happy man, bro. Everyone's going for Up. Chris Trengrove, The Incredibles adds a different director voice, Brad Bird, to the Rushmore. It does indeed. Then I don't think I'm going to go Monsters, Inc., bro. I mean, I love it, but I'm not seeing enough love for it in the comments, and I want the people to have a decision here. Yeah, Coco. Coco's a great shout. Monsters, Inc., they're both great shouts, but to me, it looks like it's a toss-up between Up and The Incredibles. So we've got Toy Story 3, we've got Inside Out, Toy Story 3, Inside Out, and Wall-E. Those are the givens. I actually need to mark these down so I don't forget them. Where's AJ when you need him? So we've got Toy Story 3, we've got Wall-E, we've got Inside Out. So where I'm struggling now, guys. Francis Landis suggests, sorry, I laughed because I said Gavin saying put in Lightyear to wind up the haters. I could just to fuck people off. That would be quite funny. Yeah, Tien, Toy Story 3 is in there, bro. It's in the Rushmore. Don't you worry, my friend. Francis Landis says battle between Incredibles and Monsters Inc. Now, at the moment, it looks like it's a battle between the Incredibles and Up. Then the Techer said Up. Gavin Mann said Up. Chris Trangrover said The Incredibles. Chen has said Up. Tucky, should Inside Out be in there? Absolutely, it should. The Incredibles would be different genre in Rushmore. That's true. Gavin Mann says Nico, the 4 I suggested will give a tight pull. I'll come back to that in 1 second, Gavin. Chen says, love your new camera setup. Thanks, bro. Appreciate that. I would push for Incredibles, but I think majority are looking at Up, says Francis. Dan says make up. Let me just go back to what Gavin said. So, Gavin, I've got a top 10 from you here. Inside, I've got Wall-E, Toy Story, Up, and Toy Story 3. I don't want to put 2 Toy Stories in there. I just want to put 1 Toy Story, unless I've missed your comment here. Sorry. Let me find you, Gavin. This does look like a good Rushmore. I've just found your comment. Wall-E, Toy Story 3, Up, Inside Out. That is... Is it Up or The Incredibles, guys? Up or The Incredibles? What are we doing? I think we've settled. I think people seem to be more or less happy with that. Chris, I apologize. I apologize. I would listen to The Incredibles, but I think the majority are picking Up. Up didn't make my top 10. So I'm definitely listening to the people on this one. People love Up. People love Up. Guys, I'm going to lock it off. We're going to lock it off there. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let us do this. Ladies and gentlemen, the official Movie Mount Rushmore of Pixar movies in no particular order is Toy Story 3, Our second entry is Wally. Our third entry is Inside Out. Inside Out, sorry, speak into the mic. And our final entry into the Movie Mount Rushmore. There's my voice. Into the Movie Mount Rushmore of Pixar movies is Up. Guys, my first solo show, 2 hours long. I cannot thank you guys enough for being on this ride with me. I'm not going to lie, it's been hard. I've really missed AJ here. So I really hope he recovers from COVID as quickly as possible and gets back. I do hope he's back next week. Look, provisionally, so what we're going to do, obviously, 3rd of July is AJ's birthday, and I believe 6th of July is then the tech's birthday, if I'm not wrong. But that's going to be our next Drunk Rushmore, where that kind of 3rd or 4th or 5th, whatever day that week the Tuesday lands on, that's going to be our next Drunk Rushmore, which is going to be Tom Cruise movies. Next week, we're going to do the remaining most anticipated movies of the year. I know Gavin Mann pointed out last week that obviously we did a kind of most anticipated of 2022, but a lot of new movie announcements came out at Cinecon in Las Vegas a few weeks ago. So there's a lot of new stuff that's come out, and yeah, we need to talk about it and say what we're excited about. Then we're going to do Tom Cruise. So yeah, we got some shit planned. We've got a lot of cool top 10s coming out. But yeah, I'm not going to ramble on much longer, guys. I'm just going to say, like, look, as always, if you are listening to us on pod, appreciate you. You're still our biggest community out there, all 33,000 of you. It would be really nice if y'all would come over to YouTube. It would be great. If you are listening on podcast, it would be great to see you here on YouTube, which is Silver Screen Dudes. Every Tuesday, 8:30 p.m. UK time, we are live. And we've got our regulars here in the chat as we do every week. And I love having you guys on the live squad here. Live squad, if you could please, like, Francis, I love you for like telling people about the show and for, you know, including me as part of your people to follow each week. Mwah. Blessed for that. Thank you, my man. But yeah, guys, please, like, Chris, you especially, you have movie people now. Bring them this way. Like, I plug you, you plug me. That's a fair deal, no? But yeah, Chris, your link, your Kickstarter link is going to be on every one of our videos moving forward until you tell me Kickstarter done. Yeah, I'll help you in any way I can. But if you could send some movie people our way, Chris, that would be also appreciated. Gavin, I know you know some people up in Scotland, brother. Send them our way, please. Tucky, you two. Who am I forgetting here? Like Den, I know you've got some people who you can bring over. Tien, I know you're not the only movie fan, bro. Bring some people over this way. I feel like I'm forgetting people. God, I'm so sorry. But guys, you know I've got love for every single one of you. Frank Torres, you too. I see you. Riri Thomas, I want to see you back more often. Bring some of your homies over to the channel. But yeah, guys, share the love. Bring people over. We are a weird little film family here, so it would be really nice to see me, you know, to see more of you and your friends coming and joining the show. Shameless plug again. If you actually do like the content that I've been bringing you, that me and AJ have been bringing you, remember you can support us. It's £2. It's buymeacoffee.com/movie dudes. The link to that is in the video description and in the podcast description. It's £2. It's not going into our pocket. It's to reinvest into the show, buying you hardware, buying you software. We're hoping to give you multi-camera angles. It'll help me build the studio in the new house, and it will just all be put back into making the show a better, more interesting place for you guys. Think of it as you building your studio collectively as a community. I know that's a terrible thing to say, but I don't have anything else to say right now. But yeah, guys, just please share the love. And it's been awesome having you here. I've loved having you here. And Chen says, I'll take this one as a last. I hope this doesn't make your head blow up, but this view and your looks remind me of Bradley Cooper. Well, mate, I'll take that as a massive compliment because he's a good-looking cat. He is a good-looking cat, so I'll take one. And then, as you said, mate, everyone watching here now, guys, if you could give the video a like, that helps with the algorithm ranking. Thank you so much. And if you're not subscribed already, guys, do hit the subscribe button. Would be greatly appreciated. But most importantly, please just tell people, help me, help AJ, just help us keep growing, guys. I just want people like yourselves watching the content and enjoying with us each Tuesday or as often as you can make it. Yeah, I love having you guys here. It's one of the highlights of my week. Oh, Tuesday's here. It's time to see my buddies on YouTube. You know, it's a nice time we have here, and I love seeing you guys. But, oh, Chris Trengrove, that's very kind of you. I just bought you 5 cups of coffee. Thanks for great content, Nico and AJ. Chris, thank you, brother. Really, really appreciate that. Thank you, man. And guys, thank you to all of you for being here with me every Tuesday, for giving me so much of your time, for letting me into your life. It's lovely seeing you all. I'm going to stop rambling now, and I'm going to end the broadcast. Guys, from me, Nico Lurot, I'll see you all next week, hopefully with AJ. Send him your love as you already have. Shout out to him at MOW News on Twitter, MOW News on Twitter. Send him your best, and we'll see him hopefully back next week. If not, you're stuck with me again. There will be a show next week no matter what. Guys,